this is your teacher Hazel, and our topic for this video is getting started with animal breeding. Many, if not all of us, get confused with the words animal breeding and reproduction. Some people even mistakenly refer to animal breeding as simply the reproduction of animals. However, animal breeding is more than that. In this video, you will be learning what animal breeding is, including its importance and goals, as well as the fields of sciences important to the study of animal breeding. So without much ado, let's start our discussion. Animal breeding is the application of animal genetics principles. The role of genetics is very much essential to studying animal breeding because animal breeders rely on the principles of heredity and variation in achieving the goal of animal breeding, which is genetic improvement. We want to genetically improve the population of farm livestock from one generation to the next. Now, what do we want to improve? We want to improve our traits of interest, and as such, these traits are determined by the requirements or needs and wishes or wants from the society, which might change over time. Animal breeding is aiming at the improvement of animals by changing their genetic abilities for these important traits, and these traits should be desirable and of course heritable. Dapat naipapasa from parent to offspring or from one generation to the next. So if not heritable, then in the first place, our goal of genetic improvement or genetic progress will not be realized. So in addition to this, it is also important to note that selection plays a vital role in achieving genetic improvement or genetic progress. That's why other authors also refer to animal breeding as selective breeding. Selective breeding because we select animals based on our trait or traits of interest. Take note that these traits should be desirable and of course heritable. Desirable because we are aiming at improvement. Of course, we do not want to pass undesirable traits from one generation to the next. Who would want to, right? Okay? So these animals that we have to select must also be better performing than the average of the population because they will become parents of the next generation. So it's important to select animals with desirable traits and they should be better performing. Okay? So let's now proceed to the fields of sciences that are important to the study of animal breeding. Okay? So we have here population genetics, quantitative genetics, molecular genetics, reproductive physiology, statistics, computer science, and animal husbandry. Now let's have them one by one. Population genetics deals with the genetic composition of populations, and this includes the distributions and changes in gene and genotypic frequencies in response to evolutionary processes or forces, namely non-random mating, selection, genetic drift, mutation, and migration or what we call gene flow. Looking at the changes in the genetic composition of populations is one way of determining whether genetic improvement is achieved. That's why the study of population genetics is relevant to the study of animal breeding. Okay? Now let's proceed to quantitative genetics. This includes or studies the mode of inheritance of quantitative traits. It seeks to understand the genetic basis underlying the phenotypic variation among individuals in terms of quantitative traits. And these traits exhibit continuous variation. Meaning to say, these traits do not exhibit discrete identifiable phenotypes. So they do not have identifiable phenotypes. They are not categorical variables. And they tend to be polygenic, meaning to say their expression is influenced by a large number of genes. So poly, large or many, genic from the word genes. And aside from that, the environment plays a huge role in the expression of these quantitative traits. So that's the role of quantitative genetics in animal breeding. Next, we have molecular genetics. This looks into the structure and function of the genes at the molecular level. Molecular genetic analysis of quantitative traits lead to the identification of causal mutations and presumed non-functional genetic markers linked to QTL or quantitative trait loci, which can be used to enhance genetic improvement programs. So that is for molecular genetics. Now we also have here reproductive physiology, which is basically the science concerned with the normal processes and events of reproduction. In this case, by the way of animals or farm animals to be exact, and understanding the reproductive phenomena of farm livestock is important in achieving high conception rates and greater chances of successful parturition. Now, statistics is important in animal breeding and genetics because statistical concepts, principles, methodologies, techniques, and analytical tools help in evaluating the effects of genetics and environment in the expression of the phenotype observed in an individual or population as a whole. Recall the general equation P is equal to G plus E plus G by E, where P refers to the phenotype, G refers to the genotype, E to the environment, and the G by E represents the interaction between the G and the E. Now, to put it simply, these are the factors that broadly affect the expression of the P. And specific factors could be breed in the case of the genotype. Examples of environment include nutrition, feeding management, type of rearing, housing, and other management practices that do not affect or is not related with genotype or G. Okay? So, statistics aid in extracting what specifically and greatly causes the phenotypic variation observed among individuals in a population. So, it helps to extract these things here in order to determine what really affects the expression of this letter. Okay? Now, moving on, we have here computer science. Animal breeding deals with large data sets because in the first place, its goal is genetic improvement, which is concerned or focused at the population level. Now, to process, manage, and analyze this large data set, the aid of the computer science comes in. We have here a screenshot of a journal article entitled Using a Computer Simulation Program for Animal Breeding Instruction. This article basically shows that computer science plays a great part in the success of animal breeding programs. And in the abstract, it says here that this cow-calf selection program allowed students to observe genetic changes as a result of selection practices. That is the role of computer science in animal breeding. Okay? So last but not the least is animal husbandry. It simply refers to the practice of livestock raising. It deals with the scientific application of management practices in the different species of farm livestock, of course, including poultry. Animal breeding is always connected with animal husbandry, okay, with this branch of agriculture, because along with genetic improvement, it is necessary that the animal breeder has a profound knowledge in animal production. The animal breeder must have a basic knowledge in taking care of animals in order to again achieve the goal of animal breeding, which is genetic improvement. So in summary, animal breeding is the application of animal genetics principles with the goal of genetic improvement in farm livestock. The fields of sciences related to or relevant in the study of animal breeding include the following. We have here population genetics, quantitative genetics, molecular genetics, reproductive physiology, statistics, computer science, and animal husbandry. That would be all for this video. I am your teacher Hazel. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope you learned something.